Okay, so hopefully we are now live across the internet. Yes, how scary. So welcome along, Alex. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well for a Friday afternoon. I feel a lot better now. It's a little bit cooler than it was the last few days, I'll be honest. Yeah, it's definitely been quite warm, hasn't it? So to everyone that's watching online or listening back later, welcome along. My name is Stephen Mather. I am a solicitor and your business lawyer, and really I just wanted to welcome you to this live interview with Alex Simpson. So last year, some of you might know, some of you might not, but last year I ran a Fantasy Premier League mini charity league. And Alex was the winner, a clear winner, and also actually finished in the top 0.1% of probably about 7 or 8 million people worldwide that played. You finished 11,458th. Amazing, right? A really good result for you, and really pulled it out of the bag. This year, I'm running another charity league on the Fantasy Premier League. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But to start with, Alex, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So Alex Simpson, and I work for Torwarfield Accountants. I've been there for just over 3 years now, actually. Kind of straight there after university. I studied economics in Swansea, and kind of just going through my exams at the minute to become a chartered accountant.
Yeah, well, you had a last exam a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago now. How did that go?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed it went all right. Are we still there? Have I lost Alex or have I lost connection? We'll see what happens. Well, we seem to have lost Alex, or he got completely bored of me talking. Either way, hopefully we'll get him back on soon. Here we go. Hopefully. It's back in the room.
Oh, the joys of working from home and having terrible internet. Sorry about that.
Isn't it just? It's a common thing these days. We all have it. Internet drops. So I was just asking you about the last exam. Did that go okay? Everything go okay?
Yeah, so I passed the advanced audit exam now, which is a relief. Just got the advanced tax one to do in September, and then hopefully my final one in December.
Good stuff. Excellent. And that final one, that makes you. What does that make you? A
certified chartered accountant, so ACCA.
ACCA chartered accountant. There you go, and then you can rule the world.
Hopefully.
That sounds good. So let's talk football and Fantasy Premier League. So for anybody watching that doesn't know what Fantasy Premier League is, or FPL, it is it's a fantasy football league where you get £100 million to pick a squad of players, and you get points for when a player scores a goal or saves a goal or keeps a clean sheet or makes an assist, and it's done on a weekly basis, and that kind of thing. And it's enjoyed worldwide by 7 or 8 million people. And ran and operated. The one that I used was on the official Premier League website. There are some other providers of fantasy football games as well. But Alex, when did you start playing FPL? How long have you been doing it?
To be fair, the last couple of years I've kind of taken it a bit seriously since I joined kind of working at Torwarfield, because there's kind of a competitive mini league there. But I also did it at university, but I didn't take it that too seriously at the time. But I've definitely got into it kind of the last couple of years, really. But never really had a successful period until kind of last year just gone, really. That's my first.
That's the thing, isn't it? I've been playing for quite a while. I don't know how long, but certainly maybe as 8-9 years, maybe longer. I don't know. And I've always just been completely rubbish at it. And then there was one highest position that I got was something like 87th, right, in the world, and I was absolutely romping it, really, really good. And when you're winning, when you're actually doing really well, you're more encouraged to kind of spend some time on it and go, well, hang on, let me research this and do this and do that, and I think it makes it a lot more enjoyable, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I've got to admit that kind of when I was at university and kind of not doing so well, I definitely didn't look at it anywhere near as much as I have been doing the last couple of years. It definitely encourages you to kind of take it a bit more seriously and try and kind of get those bragging rights with your friends at work as well.
Exactly, yeah. And it's one of the things that a lot of people do that, and we had some in the league last year, that they join, they submit a team, and then they actually never look at it again. And then or they look at it for the first couple of weeks and then they get bored because they're not doing very well, and then give up. And that's a really bad approach to take. I know it's geeky, and I like it, and you obviously like it, but you've kind of got to spend just a little bit of time. You don't have to spend a huge amount of time, but even just making some transfers every other week and refreshing your squad, and following, if you're following football and you're watching match of the day or whatever, and you're seeing who's scoring and who's playing well, that's probably enough, isn't it, to kind of get you at that first hurdle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you get a couple of the big names in at the start and then almost kind of just take it maybe 5-10 minutes kind of on a Friday night. I think last year it was a bit more difficult because obviously the game weeks were so kind of spread out with every game being on TV. But I think this year a lot of games are going to be on Saturdays and Sundays and not too many midweek ones. So it should make it a little bit easier just if 5 minutes on a Friday evening, just kind of make 1 or 2 transfers every week or every other week. And just trying to keep on top of making sure that you've got 11 players that will actually play rather than having a load of suspended or injured or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was it last season? What was it that made it so good for you? What was it? What was special about it?
I think with COVID and everything like that, and us being in lockdown, I think I had a lot more time, and every game being on TV as well. And I'd watch a lot of football, probably too much really. I probably watched 95% of the games that were on TV last year. Kind of one after another, kind of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever day it was, I was watching it. And
you definitely get the value out of the Sky Sports subscription last season.
Yeah, BT, Amazon Prime, all of them. Yeah, and I think it gives you a bit more of an incentive to watch the matches too, knowing you've got a player kind of in the match that you want to do well. The only downside being there's a few teams that I don't enjoy supporting, even if I have players from them. So kind of a bit of a trade-off with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely makes kind of watching the games a little bit more enjoyable, and you've got something riding on it, as it were, even if it isn't your team that you're supporting.
Yeah. So how did you go about picking your team last year, and what are you doing this year? Are you doing anything differently in terms of picking the initial squad?
I think initially I've got a fairly similar squad to last year. I've got a few of the big name players, kind of Mo Salah, Bruno Fernandes, which, to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fans of, but they seem to get points constantly week in, week out. So it's almost like you can't really ignore them if you want to kind of get off to a decent start. And then I had a couple of good players last season that started off quite cheap in, I think, Martinez and Dallas, that got kind of in the top 5 or 6 kind of positions at the end of the season, which not that many people had originally, which gave me a bit that head start. And then obviously from there onwards, I kind of tried to maintain that small lead I had. But yeah, kind of get the big names in at the start and try and find a few cheaper players that you think might have a good season, and kind of just hope for the best, really.
Yeah, and this is me because I didn't have him at the start. Someone like Mo Salah, I think in the first game or the first couple of games scored like 1 million points. And if you had him
as captain, so that got me off to a very good start.
And all of a sudden, you're 100 points in front of somebody that hasn't. So yeah, that's kind of it's always one of those things. I know you're talking about having people in your squad that you don't particularly like. I know people that play it that are like Liverpool or Manchester United fans, and they won't have a Liverpool or Manchester United player the opposite team in. They won't have it just out of principle because I'm a United fan and I don't have a Liverpool player in it. And it's like, okay, I get that principle, but in this game, you probably
you're trying to get that a little bit. I mean, I try and avoid having players that play against Leicester because obviously I'm a big Leicester City fan, so I try and avoid anyone playing Leicester each week.
Isn't
just so
it?
I don't have to cheer those on. But I guess the other side of it is, if they do well, at least you've got some sort of redemption with that kind of back in your, even if it's your team doesn't win, you've got a few points that probably won't cheer you up much, but it's a little bit.
Bittersweet when Harry Kane like scores a hat trick against Leicester or something like that. You go, well, at least they got 12 points. So.
I know. That one hurts as well. Harry Kane always seems to score against Leicester.
Doesn't he just? Yeah, absolutely. Although it looks like he's going to go with Man City, and so Leicester got pretty good record against Man City over recent years, really. So
yeah, we've shocked them a few times actually, especially last season at the Etihad. That was a rather good result, that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what you got a team that looks similar to the one that you've got last season. Have you got any tips or anything like that you would suggest to anybody watching? Here's a player that you might want to have, or are you going to keep your cards close to your chest?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I've got quite my value this year is kind of spread out between the attackers, midfielders, and strikers. I mean, I've got the three that I would definitely, I've basically said from the start I'm having no matter what is Salah, Fernandes, and Trent Arnold as well. I just think those three players, although they're all expensive, I think they're players I can't really afford not to have based on the previous years they've had and trying to get off to a good start. And they've got some good fixtures actually to start with as well. So the case of getting those in early, and maybe even if you dislike them, kind of get rid of them later down the line, but try and get a good start to the season, really.
Yeah. I'm worried about Fernandes, Bruno. I think he looked really tired in the Euros.
He did look poor in the Euros.
Really play a part, did he?
No, not at all. But I also think the fact that he takes the penalties in Man United and free kicks as well, I think having set piece kind of takers is a big advantage in fantasy football because they score a lot of points from penalties and free kicks, and even getting corners like Trent Arnold takes the corners at Liverpool and getting the assists from those as well.
Yeah. One of the things that so I am a sad geek, and I spend far too long looking at stuff like Twitter and that kind of thing, and looking at what people are talking about on there. And one of the players that seems to have been missed generally in the teams that I've seen on Twitter is Virgil van Dijk out of Liverpool. So obviously he was injured last season for the most part of it, but a phenomenal player. Where when he plays, they tend to have clean sheets, and was also an aerial threat in attack and scores goals. And a little bit cheaper than Trent. So I think maybe he's an option that's a reasonably attractive option, but I don't know. I'm always unsure about having double team at the back, double Liverpool at the back.
Yeah, that's one thing I normally try and avoid, actually, having even a keeper and a defender from the same team. I try and spread my risk as much as possible. But the only thing I would say with potentially Van Dijk is he could be a very good differential in terms of everyone else having either Trent Arnold or Robertson, and he is that little keeper. But my worry always is that I know so many people have picked Trent, so if he does do well and I've got Van Dijk instead, then you're at that disadvantage. Just a bit of a trade-off, kind of the risk and reward, really, isn't it?
This is the thing with the differentials that we hear about. So like Virgil van Dijk, I think when I looked a few days ago, his ownership percentage was about 9% compared to Alexander Arnold, which is like 40-something%.
Yeah, there's a huge difference.
And like you say, when you've got someone at 47% and they score and get 3 assists or something like that, if you've not got him in your side, you're massively behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the what they call the template team. Good. So that's that. By the way, last season you won. And here's your prize. I still have your prize here. I'm going to post it to you today.
That's great.
This was the prize sponsored by me. So a meal for 2 at John's house. John's house is my favourite restaurant in Leicester. Couldn't get him to sponsor the price directly, so I had to pay out of my own pocket. But never mind. I shouldn't give him the airtime. They've recently been voted the 10th best restaurant in the whole of the UK on TripAdvisor, and it's a fantastic restaurant. So you'll hopefully enjoy that.
Well, I'm actually kind of going to give it to my mum and dad, I think, because.
How are you?
Yeah, I haven't got the most experienced palate at the minute, whereas my mum and dad really appreciate nice food. So
Nice touch.
To be honest with you, they'll be very happy with it. They'll cheer me on, actually. They knew what the prize was at the start of the season, what it was. So they were following it almost as much as I was, just for that, really.
Absolutely. They're going, Alex, are you sure you've researched enough this week? I think you might need to spend a little bit longer on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that would be nice. That would be. Yeah, they will really enjoy it, whichever way. And obviously, the main reason for us doing it last year was to raise a little bit of money for charity, which we're going to be doing again this year. So, so this year, again, I'm doing for everyone listening, doing the charity league again, and I'm hoping that it will be bigger and better than it was last year. So, as I say, how Fantasy Premier League works is this: you get £100 million, not real money, obviously, virtual money. You get £100 million. You have to pick 15 players, and they get points as they score on a variety of different reasons. To enter, it costs £25, and that's all going to go to my Sahara Trek 2022 charity account, and then there's prizes to be had. Despite what me and Alex have talked about, actually, I don't think there's a huge amount of skill involved in being involved in it. There is as much luck as there is skill and judgment. I honestly think people could just go on there and click auto pick a team, and right at the start that would be sufficient. The key is just to keep monitoring it and seeing if someone's injured, take them out, or if they're not performing, take them out. And I'm giving prizes across the board as well. So I'm all for competing and winning, but I don't want people just to chuck 25 quid in and then not. I think it was a complete waste of money. So there's prizes across the whole season as well. There's going to be prizes for the best team name, prizes for the worst player, prizes for the middle people, prizes just randomly, and of course prizes for manager of the month each month. And of course you didn't win manager of the month each month last season.
Only a couple of times, really. It's just definitely kind of people that have those one months that are really good that you can't compete with. So
exactly. And there were some decent prizes sponsored by a few of the nice companies that were involved in the league, and hopefully they'll be involved again. But bottles of wine, bottles of chocolate, boxes of chocolate, champagne, that kind of thing. So for everyone listening at home, £25 entry fee. 30% of that is going to the prize fund. So it's going to be a cash prize fund for the top 5 winners this season, plus sponsored prizes. So there's going to be another John's House meal for 2 sponsored by me for the overall winner, and then monthly prizes as well. And it's all going to be to help raise money for my Sahara Trek in 2022. So in March 2022, I've agreed, along with my wife and a couple of friends, to walk across the Sahara Desert. We're going to do 4 or 5 days of trekking across the Sahara Desert. Bearing in mind, I could barely manage in yesterday's heat sitting in a room. I'm not quite sure I'm going to manage in the Sahara, but we'll cross that bridge or sand when we get to it. But all the money is going to raise. All the money is going towards charities. So there's 3 charities. Loros is the first charity, which is a hospice in Leicester, which does amazing things for people at end of life. Leicester's Charity Link, which again does amazing things for the poor and vulnerable in Leicester, helping them to buy stuff for new houses, new accommodation, getting them out of mess and that kind of thing. And then a charity called the Meniere's Society. Meniere's is a disease that I was diagnosed with over a couple of years ago, and is the reason why it's going to be very difficult for me to walk across the Sahara Desert. But nonetheless, without their support and research, I wouldn't be able to sit up and talk to you. So it's kind of 3 good charities, and I really hope that we can get a lot of people on the league this year, even more than we had last year. So if anyone's watching this video, wants to get involved, drop me an email, stephen@stephenmather.co.uk, or find me on wherever you're watching this video. Send me a message, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, or Twitter. Send me a message, join in. As I say, just £25. 30% of the overall money received is prizes plus sponsored prizes, and we can hopefully raise a lot of money for charity. I think last year we had about 70 something people in the league, something like that. I'm hoping to get at least 100 this season. And so anyone, any support that you can give would be great. You mentioned you've got the work league, that some of the teammates work. If we can kind of rotate them into it as well, that would be good. And maybe even speak to the bosses and get everybody in and get some clients in, and that kind of thing would be fantastic. But Alex, I've taken up too much of your lunchtime. Thank you very much for joining me. Go and have your lunch, and we'll speak soon. And try not to be as good this time, because it's really embarrassing not winning my own charity league. This time,
thank you. Really nice call, and getting a lot of money for charity. So some great causes there as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Alex. Take care and speak soon.
Cheers, Stephen.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.